NotebookLM, it's amazing. You upload a paper, a document, maybe even a code base, and now you can chat with it and summarize it. But then there's the part nobody likes talking about. You still have to upload all that stuff to Google. This is Open Notebook. It has over 27,000 stars on GitHub, it's self-hosted, and it asks a very simple question. What if you could get the NotebookLM experience, but with dev-level control? Today, I'm gonna spin it up, test the workflow, compare it to NotebookLM and AnythingLLM, and answer the real question. Is this actually useful for devs, or is it just another AI wrapper? Open Notebook is a privacy-first, self-hosted alternative to NotebookLM, but that undersells it a little bit because this is not just NotebookLM, but open source. It gives you a NotebookLM-style research workspace, multi-model support, podcast generation, local-first options, and a REST API you can actually build on top of. And that's the part a lot of people are actually caring about. Most people look at this and they think one thing: cool, I can make an AI podcast from PDFs. Bravo. Devs look at it and we think something slightly different. Can I plug this into my workflow? That's one real question. Can I use local models with it? Can I automate research summaries? And answering all those questions is where Open Notebook gets interesting. You're not locked into Gemini. You can use different providers, including local models through Ollama. You can self-host it. You can customize the podcast experience with different speaker profiles. And because there's an API, this can become part of your stack, not just another tab in your browser. If you enjoy coding tools that speed up your workflow, be sure to subscribe. We have videos coming out all the time. All right, let's actually run this so you can see it in action. Open Notebook is Docker first. That's awesome. So if you're already comfortable with containers, this is really familiar territory. Run the compose setup, wait for the services to spin up, and then open the app in your browser. Now that it's going, we can create a new notebook. Think of a notebook like a project-specific research workspace. Instead of dumping everything into one giant AI chat, you can separate things out. One notebook for code bases, one for project research, one for academic papers, internal docs, all that stuff. Now we can add in our sources. This could be things like a PDF, a README, documentation, a research paper, or really anything you want the system to actually reason over. And the important word there is source, because the goal is not just generic AI chat. The goal is grounded answers based on the material that you give it. So let's ask now a more technical question here. Maybe I can ask something along the lines of, what are the main components of this project and what would I need to change if I want to extend it? It's doing its thing. This is the basic NotebookLM style experience. We add sources, you ask questions, you get answers grounded on those sources. But here's the main thing. This is where it stops feeling like a clone of something and starts feeling more dev-friendly, more of something maybe on its own. You can choose which model provider you want to use, and we're not locked into that vendor like Gemini, like I said. Hosted models, absolutely fine. Local models, also absolutely fine. You get to pick the trade-off between quality, speed, cost, and privacy. And then there's the feature most of us will click first, the podcast generator. NotebookLM made AI podcasts feel actually pretty cool. If you haven't played with it, maybe you should. If I run it here, well, something else happens. Take a listen.
It's a game changer for researchers looking for autonomy and privacy.
Absolutely, Alex. I think one of the coolest aspects of Ollama.
Cool, right? But Open Notebook gives you more control over that format. You can generate podcasts from your sources, configure the structure, and use multiple speaker profiles instead of being stuck with one fixed style. So instead of getting generic AI hosts explain a PDF, you can create something more specific. You could say something like a product manager and a backend developer debating an architecture doc. And that sounds small until you use it on something that's honestly painful. A long RFC, a dense white paper, a boring API spec, all that stuff. It's a way to make dry information just easier to consume. Now, let's compare it to the tools we already know that are out there. Let's start with Google NotebookLM. NotebookLM is great. It's easy, it works really well, and for a lot of us, honestly, that's probably enough. But the trade-off behind all that is the control. Open Notebook gives you self-hosting, multi-model support, local model options, customizable podcasts, and API access. So if you're working with sensitive docs, private research, or internal material, Open Notebook has the stronger privacy story here. Now, here's the catch to all that. Is Open Notebook as smooth as NotebookLM? No, not always. NotebookLM has the advantage of being polished hosted product. It's from Google, right? Open Notebook is more flexible, but it still feels like a dev-oriented open source project. That's not a deal breaker. It just means you should know what you're actually choosing. Now, compare it to AnythingLLM. Honestly, that is a really cool tool. AnythingLLM is also popular in the self-hosted AI space, but it wins in a different way. It's easier to get started with, it has a desktop app, it has no code agent workflows. That's great. For a non-technical user, that may be the first step. But Open Notebook feels more focused on the NotebookLM style research experience. Now, let's be honest about what people like and what people are actually complaining about. The huge win here is gonna be privacy. If your work involves sensitive docs, private code, client research, or anything you would be hesitant to upload to a hosted AI tool, then self-hosting really matters here. That is the main reason that Open Notebook actually exists in the first place. Then you have model flexibility. You're not forced into one provider. Yes, I can choose the ones I want, huge win. That means we can choose what we need based on what we're working with, but it also creates a new problem. You have to make a choice. We also have the podcast customization. Try it on a huge project spec, a dense API doc, or a long research paper, and it actually starts to make sense. Finally, the API is a big deal for a lot of us. You can imagine workflows like creating research briefings from GitHub issues, or sending outputs into Slack, Linear, or Notion. Great. Now, the bad thing about all this, or maybe things that we don't quite like. First, setup is Docker first. For most of us, honestly, that's fine. For everyone else, maybe that's a wall. This is not yet the download one app and everything just works. Second, it's still a newer project, so some things are still catching up. And then quality depends on your models and your setup. So the honest take here is kind of simple. Open Notebook is not perfect. Then again, no tool is perfect. That's why we have all these different tools. But the direction it's going in is very good. It's not for everyone, but give it a try if you want self-hosted research backend, if you have docs you don't want to just upload to Google, or if you want to build custom workflows on top of the API. The stack includes modern front-end, a Python backend, Surreal DB, and an AI abstraction layer designed to work across providers. So it can feel like something you can actually extend, not just something that we use. If you enjoy coding tools like this, be sure to subscribe to the Better Stack channel. We'll see you in another video.